Hey, so I wanted to document a project that I was a part of last weekend, October 9th and 10th, in Greenville. So every year there's a huge festival in Greenville in the fall called Fall for Greenville. That is mostly a music festival with food and drink, and they shut down Main Street, and people just pack into the city for this festival. We also have a spring one called Artisphere. So twice a year at these big festival level events, the nonprofit that I volunteer with is called Bike Walk Greenville, and we partner with the city to provide free bike parking, valet style, for this event. And we get up to 100 bikes a day. And since I started doing it, I've gotten some ideas on how to make it bigger and better, that I'm really excited to do. But in the meantime, I was looking, as we started taking over more of the responsibilities like tagging bikes and setup, I started looking for resources on this. And I just thought we got so much out of this event that I would want to just facilitate more of these little pop-up bike valet things at different events. And even if you're like a really small outfit or doing a small event, here are some ideas that might make bike valet parking work. Obviously, bike valet parking is going to save a ton of money compared to trying to get everybody to park their car. It's really fun for people to have a free place to park their bike. It takes some of the stress of and the logistics of riding a bike into the event, which is already super efficient. It just makes it more convenient and more safe, so that people can enjoy the event without worrying about their bike getting stolen or something happening to it. So while tons of people bike to Greenville, and we don't have a whole lot of issues, thankfully, with theft and bike security. You can lock up your bike and be okay. It's still a really nice service that people really appreciated. So I'm really glad that we did it. We did it with just a bit of volunteer hours and hardly any financial investment in it. So I wanted to do a video and kind of like show people how we did it. So I will link to my blog where I talk a little bit more about the background of this event and like why we do it and how. But then I took some footage while we were at the event, which I'm going to show now, and kind of talk about the kind of nitty gritty of how we did it. And this is a very small thing. There are huge events, like if you go to the Bike New York Expo and do the Five Boroughs ride, there is an enormous like parking lot full of valet parking. So again, this is a very small outfit, but I just want to underline that you can totally do something like this with a handful of volunteers and hopefully some like coordination with your like city or local government to provide some of the equipment. But even if you just had the permission to do it, you could also borrow the equipment from maybe a local bike shop or another nonprofit, and you could have yourself a little bike parking event. So I hope this is helpful. And if you watch this and read the blog and you still have questions or is unclear about anything, let me know, because I'm happy to talk more about this. Just wanted to kind of put this out there. So here we go. So we have this bike valet sign provided by the city, and one thing I want right off the bat is to get more of these made and for them to see free bike valet parking to help make it more clear that that's what we're about. I also want to add signage along the trail coming in, like little yard signs that help people who are riding downtown know that we're here, and maybe put on a QR code to drop a pin on Google Maps to help find us. But I think that this added signage and clarified signage would go a long way in getting the word out that we're here and let people know that we're a totally free service. And so because of the construction going on one side of the trail over here, we had this small area where we could corral the bikes. And this was in the morning. An hour later, it was pretty full. And then on the other side of the trail is where we set up the tables with brochures. We have merch like our green t-shirts and some posters over there on the right talking about the projects that our nonprofit has been involved with most recently. So this is where we'd engage with people, draw them in with our table stuff, and chat about local projects and how they can get involved and stay up to date. So as I mentioned in the blog post, we're normally under this bridge, but the construction, unfortunately, was not finished in time. So we had to pivot and go near the construction because normally we're down under here, and instead we had to put the bikes over here. So we made it work with what we had available to us, and we're able to fit about 100 bikes between that those racks and that rack that you see right there. And then I have this event tape, this checkered event tape that could be used to kind of create a corral. So you can kind of get creative with like how you position the bikes, but basically the idea was that they were out of the way. Okay, now to the tags. So I made the tags myself because I couldn't find a template. So if you want the template, I'd be happy to share it with you. Maybe I can link it on Google Docs. Basically, they're printed on cardstock, stacked in number order. In the top part, we had a space to write your name and phone number. The bottom part had a matching number. So the top went on the bike and the bottom ripped off as a claim stub for the visitor. So you could use masking tape or a stapler. We tagged each bike and we went in order so that we could get a total count of tags. So then over on the table, I made some bike jewelry a while ago to bring to events. I had stickers made. Those are totally optional, but I like to have this plus our t-shirts, which are for sale. The other items are just on a suggested donation basis, but I keep a couple t-shirts out on the table. I put the rest in that box over there just to keep things tidy. It brings people in. And then I also got a local bike place to donate a bike rental. So I got email signups that way. I have our online donation webpage there with a QR code and the donation URL if people wanted to make a donation online or pay for their shirt that way. And then I had a cash box as well. We have pamphlets from our organization as well as partner organizations. We have the local rail trail map that we could give out. Those are all just, pre-coordinated, and I keep extra copies in my event box. I also like to make some flyer visuals of some things that we're working on, like this trail counter that we're just getting installed in a park within the next month. So then I made a poster version here as well. And having these on easels was super helpful because it really visually attracted people to the table, gave them something to say, oh, look at this, and come over and talk about. And I did weigh out down these easels in the back. I taped them to this foam board, and then I put this chair down to stabilize them. And that was a lifesaver because with the smallest breeze, things fall over. I have a bike pump here. It was a kind of a random thought, but doesn't hurt to have one on hand. Some other good stuff that's good to have on hand is Sharpies, pens. I have a bunch of different types of tape. The masking tape was good for attaching the tags to the bikes without damaging the bikes. The packing tape was good for securing things down, like those posters over there. And I know that is kind of a lot of tape, but when it's breezy and you don't want things blowing over, Mick just comes in really handy. You could even use the clear tape to tape down papers. And then, of course, the scissors is good for cutting stubborn tape or for making your corral. As I mentioned earlier, that checker tape could be useful for kind of creating a space for the bikes to be kind of sectioned off so that people don't just like walk in there. And then I like to have sidewalk chalk in my event box. We weren't allowed to use it for this event, but sometimes you can add signage that way or directional arrows. So thought I'd mention that. So overall, we parked a lot of bikes, we raised money, but best of all, we were able to engage with the community. People were so grateful that we were here, and they were excited to talk to us about our mission, which is improving biking and walking infrastructure in Greenville to make our community a better and safer place to live. So if you have any questions or ideas I didn't cover, please drop a comment. I love hearing your opinion and seeing what all you have to add.